Hey guys, Steve here at the Fitness Hub, and I want to talk to you today about training and specifically picking and choosing a balanced training program, weight training program for yourself. Because a lot of people will develop programs based around like push pull, lower body, upper body, but I don't think they really know whether it's balanced or not. And what do I mean by balanced? Well, balance is a hard one to go by because if you have been training for some years and your program hasn't been balanced, then the balanced program will be different for you. So what I mean is if you've been doing a lot of chest typically in your early years, then to balance out your program, you're going to be wanting to do more back. But if someone's starting out, then they can balance out back and chest together. They don't have to do an excessive amount of back. So let me get into the details of what I exactly mean here. So let me give you an example of an unbalanced upper body routine. So I think this is quite a typical routine some will do. They go with a bench press 4x8, pull-ups 4x8, shoulder press 3x10, chest fly 3x10, bicep curls 2x12, tricep extensions 2x12. And to be fair, the actual repetitions and sets don't matter too much. They do talk about have the volume there. And let me tell you why this is unbalanced. So with the bench flat, you're working your chest. It's a horizontal press. So you really, to balance that out, you want to be doing a horizontal pull. And if you look through the list of exercises there's no horizontal pull. There's no rows of any kind in there. And that is what you would want to choose really to balance that out. There are pull-ups, but pull-ups are a vertical pull and they balance out the shoulder press. So those two are kind of balanced there. One's 4x8, one's 3x10. I'd say that's balanced. That's absolutely fine. Then you've got a chest fly, again, another chest exercise, but we've only got one back exercise there, so that's unbalanced. They're not in a solid ratio. There's actually, you got a shoulder press, a bench press, and a chest fly. That's three pushing type movements. Not all pushing, of course, but they're all associated with the pectorals, the shoulder area, whereas you've only got pull-ups. So it's likely that you're going to develop sort of this kyphotic posture that you might have heard about, where people their shoulders round in, which is classical anyway of an office worker who's always rounded in like this. And if you're doing this sort of routine and you're sat at a desk all day, internally rotated, you're likely going to produce a kyphotic posture, which isn't attractive and it's not healthy. Then you have bicep curls and tricep extensions, which balance each other out. So that is fairly balanced, but that overall routine is unbalanced. And let me now show you what a balanced upper routine would look like. So a balanced upper routine may look like this. So here we have a chest press, which is a horizontal push, balanced out by a one arm row, which is a horizontal pull. Then you have a shoulder press, which is a vertical push. Then you have pull-ups, which is a vertical pull. Then you have your biceps and triceps. So that overall would be a balanced upper body routine and a solid one at that. So you want to make sure you have a horizontal push balanced out by horizontal pull, vertical push, vertical pull, so on and so forth. So that can be vertical pulls like pull-ups, lat pull-downs. Horizontal pull can be any sort of rowing, even seated rowing machine, it's still a horizontal pull. You also can have a vertical push, could be an overhead press, a shoulder press, a machine shoulder press, any of those sort of things. And then obviously you want to have biceps and triceps. But if I was going to do a routine for someone who had been overemphasizing their chest and had a kyphotic posture, I will show you what sort of routine I might give those. So for someone who has that kyphotic posture, they're internally rotated, they've been emphasizing their pushing movements too much. This is a routine I could potentially give one of them. So you're starting off with the row because you're really trying to draw those shoulders back. You're then going to go into a chest press because obviously you still want to maintain the strength and the shape of those muscles and everything. You then would go into a pull-up, and then you could do a lateral raise, which is emphasizing the shoulders but not overemphasizing the kyphotic, sort of pulling forward, because it's the medial deltoids that are going to be isolated so long as you're doing that exercise correctly. Then you would go into face pulls, which are, if you don't know, an exercise where you get, say, a rope or a cable, and you hold it like this and you pull it towards your face. So you're really pulling, emphasizing, retracting those scapulars, your shoulder blades, and really emphasizing that pull and bring it right towards your face, which is great for opening out the chest and developing the rotator cuff muscles to pull back and get the shoulders nice and healthy in a nice solid healthy position for the person to be stable and have good posture. And then you have your biceps and triceps. Of course, everyone loves a bicep curl, and you don't want to have biceps with no triceps because it's just unbalanced. So that's how you go about balancing up an upper body routine. So now you're kind of getting a picture of how to create a balanced program for an individual. If they're just starting out, balance those horizontal and verticals, and if they are already unbalanced, you kind of have to be clever about it. Another unbalanced program for lower body might look like this, and I think this is probably fairly typical. You have a squat 4x10, a lunge 3x12, then a leg extension 3x12, leg curl 3x12, and calves 6x6. So what's wrong with this program? Well, you've got a squat, which although uses all of your legs, it is mainly going to emphasize the quads over everything else. You do, as long as you're getting a full depth squat, get your hamstrings involved and obviously your glutes, but it is primarily going to work your quads over other things. Then by going into a lunge, depending on what type of lunge you're doing, but let's just assume this is just a standing dumbbell lunge where you're just standing still and walking one step forward at a time. That again is primarily going to work your quadriceps. So again, your quad is dominant in that exercise. Then leg extensions, obviously it's a quad isolation exercise. Then leg curls, your only real isolation and heavily user of the hamstring. And then you have calves, which is excellent to include. So let's balance that one out, because obviously we've got an overemphasis on the quads. So for someone who has really well developed hamstrings, which is very unlikely for the vast majority of people, you would want to include more of that. But of course, if you did have heavily overemphasized hamstrings, you may want to disinclude quite a lot of those exercises. But this is creating a balanced program for just the majority of people would want to be doing. So a balanced lower body program might look like this. So you've got your squat, which is primarily using your quads, is primarily going to move at the knee. Then you've got your RDL, which again is also going to move at the knee, but mainly the hip. So that's a hip dominant exercise, and it's going to be killing those hamstrings so long as you're doing it properly. So then we've got a lunge, which again is mainly at the knee. Hopefully, if you're doing it properly, you are going to be using your hamstring to an extent, like the squat, but it's mainly the quadricep again. Then you've got your hip thrust, which is at the hip, and that's going to be killing your glutes. It's a great exercise, and I've recently been incorporating them, and so long as you get a nice pad on there, it's a good exercise. But anyway, I shall continue. Then you've got your leg extensions and leg curls, which obviously balance one another up, and again, you want to chuck in some calves there for good measure. So, as you can see, there's something to think about when you're creating a program for yourself or someone else. It needs to be individualized to that person and to you, and it needs to be balanced. And by knowing yourself or the person, you can identify their weaknesses and you can incorporate lifts to make their strengths. And if they're new, you should be making it balanced, because I can't overemphasize how important it is, because you see these people, and it is typical that people hammer away at their mirror muscles, their quads, their chest, and their shoulders, and they forget that the backside is very important. Things like your glutes, your hamstrings, your back, it's going to bring you back, bring you into a solid position for overall health and everyday living. So it's going to be really good. So I hope this video has been helpful for some of you, and hopefully you can go ahead and create balance programs. And if you have any questions, please just shoot. Cheers guys, and thank you very much.